I had a doctor's appointment with the guy that owned the building of the Blowfly, and
It had been out of business for how long?
it actually was never closed.
Oh wow,
Really?
That's kind of
That's how I knew that it was really on struggling. Was though it was open, it had a manager and about 4 employees.
Did not know that. I thought it
I
closed
did
down.
too. I thought it was closed for
everybody
like
did.
a year or two.
Everybody did.
Jesus.
And everybody would say, I drive by there, see 3 or 4 cars. Well, they
Yeah.
were the employees' cars, and that was it. And when I was researching and stuff, and I'd ask everybody, you know, what do you think of the Blowfly? And they're like, I think it closed. Like,
Yeah.
okay, this is what I need to,
Right.
need to hear. You know,
You're like, we're going to
Yeah.
start way at the
Yeah.
bottom here. Yeah.
And so Dr. Victor Bazone owned it, and I had an appointment with him, and he dropped a line of, so you own Triple Tails? And I was like, yeah, and you own the Blowfly.
Right.
He goes, why, you want to buy it? And I was like, oh, don't mess with me.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, I'm intrigued, and I paused for a second, and I was like, you know, if you want to tell me what your price is, I can at least do some research at the very least. And he threw a number at me, and I about 2 weeks later went back to him with a letter of intent.
Wow.
And said, you know, I think I can do something with this, and we made a deal, and we made it happen, and I thought that I would be able to just put some lipstick on it a little bit and fix it up, but the building really needed a big overhaul.
It's an old building, right?
Well, it's post Katrina because it's up in the air. The original old building was like
Destroyed.
a house, and I think that at maybe some point in the early '60s or something that somebody may have let a room out, which is why it was called the Blowfly Inn. So maybe we should say that on.
So people used to think it was a hotel, right?
Yeah,
Still to this day. Yeah.
So the previous manager, she said, you know, a couple of times a year, people would show up with suitcases in tow and say, "We want a room," and that's, you know, that's part of the reason that it changed the name to Blowfly Bar and Grill. But also wanted to let people know that it's the same but new. You know, it's kind of new and improved. But we tried to go back to everything we could find that generally the population said, this is what I loved about the Blowfly, and we went and did that stuff. Okay. The stuff everybody agreed on.
So in the early '90s, that was probably the heyday for the Blowfly Inn. The late '90s, the 2000s,
the original heyday. So now Scott Weinberg ran it for quite a few years in the early 2000s, and then later into I'm not sure when he stopped running it, but Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives came and did a segment.
They were big.
Okay,
this is the cool part. I was on it. I was interviewed in that segment.
Really?
I did the red beans and rice. And
so you were just eating there.
Guy Fieri wasn't there. He'd already left for the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And but they just wanted some footage of somebody. They wanted to do a segment on the red beans, and I took a bite of it, and they got me filmed taking a bite of it.
Right.
If that photo of that video isn't hanging up in there somewhere,
you need to put it in there.
Yeah.
I will. I
Okay.
will. I mean, the YouTube video is still out there, and I'm the splash page, like I'm on it. I'm on the page of the link.
So it was written in the stars. It was meant to be.
Yeah.
Maybe. But
Laura says she had lunch there today, and the chicken salad wrap was delicious.
Great.
There it is.
Great.
There you go.
Yeah, I've had a lot of positive feedback on the food, and so we've only been open for about a month now, but we've been cooking food for 4 months. So when I was doing renovations, the kitchen was back there cooking. The kitchen staff, they all know each other, happy-go-lucky buddies, and they're all getting it done. But so we've been cooking the food, and I would get anybody I could get to say, come up here. We sit on picnic tables outside and serve stuff and say, too salty, not salty enough, whatever it was. We're trying the whole stuffed flounder today. We're doing shrimp platters today. We went back and forth with different batters on fried shrimp and all this stuff.
Right.
And we spent a lot